Okay, so thank you all for coming. My name is Joel. I'm a reference librarian, and this is our Get Hired series. Welcome. We've done several of these so far. This is where we just kind of talk about job skills, um, just trying to help folks find new jobs or make career changes or whatever in the time of COVID. So today's class is going to be on cover letters, what they are and how you can use them to help you. Um, I first learned about cover letters and resumes when I was in junior high, and I had a substitute teacher that was a librarian, and it just, for whatever reason, she mentioned it in the class that I was in. So I went to the library, sat down with her, and I was like 14, never had a job before, but I knew I wanted one. So we kind of, that's how I made my first cover letter and resume, and I've pretty much been using them ever since. And I've just found them to be a great tool for just making contact with a person when maybe I was applying through like a portal or like a applicant tracking thing that's just very informal. And the cover letter allowed me to just kind of make contact with an actual person and develop a, kind of a relationship that way. And that I feel it helped me to kind of, differentiate myself. So anyway, that's why I wanted to teach this class. So first thing, I just want to kind of talk about what cover letters are, and what you're essentially trying to do with a cover letter. I believe it is essentially two things, but first it is making contact with the hiring manager or team. Um, you are targeting a specific job when you're doing this. You don't want to do just kind of a one-size-fits-all blanket approach. So keep in mind that you are targeting a specific job, and you're writing a specific person. Um, and then you're also, like I said earlier, you are trying to put your best foot forward to make a good first impression. And hopefully this initial first impression will lead to an interview. I mean, that is your goal with a cover letter, is to get them to read your resume and then to further the process with an interview. And essentially with your cover letter, you're answering the 3 questions that I wrote at the bottom of the slide. I've been on the other side of the hiring process, and when I would go through people's submissions, their applications, resumes, and cover letters, we are asking ourselves as we're reading them, can they do the work? Do we like this person? Do we want to work with them? Do we think they'll be a good fit with the culture of our organization? When you're writing a cover letter, you want to keep those things in mind, because if you can check yes to all those boxes, you're going to be contacted. Likewise, um, if someone reads your cover letter and they don't think that you can do the job, or they don't think that you would be a good fit with the people that are already in the organization, they'll just pass you by. And I've actually been in, believe it or not, I've been in an interview where the person told me that I was overqualified and could definitely do the job, but they were going to pass because they did not believe that I would fit in with the department. So that really is a consideration that people are going to have when they're reading through your information that you've submitted. So if you keep that in mind, you can get in front of that question and kind of help guide that. Okay, so the parts of a cover letter. This is kind of just a basic format. With formatting on a cover letter, unless the job says use X format, you have leeway where you can kind of decide what you want it to look like, but it's going to be just like any other letter or correspondence. You've got your introduction, the main body of your letter, and then of course your closing. So in a cover letter, your introduction is going to be where you're trying to grab their attention. A lot of people call it the hook. This is where you're going to make what you would call a value proposition. What are you offering them? In a good cover letter, it's going to be about what you have to offer, not what you're expecting out of said job or said career. That's the wrong kind of approach. But in your lead, you're going to try to start with kind of in a very brief way, kind of why you're applying for this position, what you're hoping to do or offer with that position. And you're going to actually say the name of the position in that lead. Most people are going to use like an online job portal or application tracking software. But if you're applying for an organization that doesn't, so in olden times, they used cover letters because they didn't always have a way to group everybody together. So they may not know what position you're applying for, is what I'm trying to say. So by saying that in the lead, you kind of remind them, okay, this person's applying for this job. Because you also have to keep in mind, this hiring manager might be reading, a bunch of these things for multiple different jobs. So that just helps them. And then the second part of your cover letter is just going to be where you back up everything you said in your introduction. The value that you're hoping to bring to said position, your direct evidence, which is going to be, I'm going to show you an example that has it in more of an outline format, but each little bullet point does have supporting sentences that are basically paragraphs. This is where you back everything up and give concrete examples, maybe from your previous experiences, that show why you are a good fit. And then the closing, you're just going to summarize why you're a good fit. Important thing about this part that I wanted to say is expressing gratitude. In a previous class on emails that I taught in the Get Hired series, we looked at research that showed when you use a variation of thank you, it could be thank you for your consideration, thank you for your time, etc. But when you use that to close an email, your chances of getting a response increase by something crazy like 60% versus like sincerely or truly yours. So powerful stuff. You definitely want to end your cover letter with some version of thank you. And then it is perfectly fine if you don't do it in a pushy way to ask for an interview. And it doesn't have to be a direct ask. It could be something like, I welcome any questions or an opportunity to talk further about the position. I mean, that's appropriate. So here is the example, and this is included in the reminder email that I sent out before the class. This is from a class called Writing a Cover Letter with Jenny Foss, and it's offered through lynda.com, and the library offers access to Lynda. You'll just use your library card and PIN number, which is the last 4 digits of your phone number. Anyway, this example, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to go over some of the parts and just show how they correspond to what we just talked about. Excuse me. So obviously the writing the cover letter with Jenny Foss and the LinkedIn Learning, that's going to be gone, but you would have the contact information at the top. And then I want to talk about this, dear name. So I said at the beginning, you are writing to a specific person. It might be a team, but it's more than likely that you're going to be able to find the name of the person. What I'm getting at is you don't want to use to whom it may concern. That's just a cold, kind of generic cliche that will just turn people off. It doesn't make a good impression. And we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook. Some organizations will have a staff directory, so that there are ways that you can find out the name of the person who's going to be reading your cover letter. And if you can, use your name, that's a personable touch that just helps you. If you really just cannot find their name, you could always just put dear hiring manager, dear, hiring team. Both of those are better than to whom it may concern. I guess if you were really bold, you could always politely ask by calling the organization. If you were really desperate and really wanted to put a person's name, you could do that, and they might tell you, but they may not. But anyway, important to have a name on here. And then everything above what specifically would I bring, that is the lead. It's several paragraphs long actually, but that's all the introduction part. So in this example, you can see that they've just got the title of the position they're applying for in bold, and then the rest of that is just them building a bridge between their experience, their skills, and the position that they're applying for, and kind of tying that together why they would be a good fit for them. But if you read that, you'll see that they don't say, I believe I'm uniquely qualified and would be a perfect fit. Both of those two things I just said, also cliches, don't want to use those. So then the second part, the direct evidence, those are all those kind of bulleted paragraphs that you see kind of midway down. That's where they're backing up everything they said in that first intro. The part that starts with my resume will provide blah, blah, blah. So that starts the closing. That's where they're summarizing everything, and they're not restating the resume here. You're hoping that this person's going to read your resume, so you don't need to put stuff that you're going to share with them then here. This is your opportunity to be more engaging in a way that your resume really isn't designed to do. So they're just giving, specific examples with their direct evidence, and then the closing, kind of wrapping everything up. And then as you see here, they've got a thank you statement, and then I welcome any follow-up questions and so forth. My personal opinion, I wouldn't put sincerely in here. You've already got a thank you statement and I would welcome any follow-up questions. I would just leave it at that and cut the sincerely out of there, but that's just my preference. Okay, a couple more things about format. Like we said earlier, you've got creative leeway with that. The biggest thing is you want your format for your cover letter to match what you have with your resume. It's really important that those two things look the same. It's just going to help your person that you're writing to, the hiring manager, keep things together in their mind. Because again, they're probably looking through lots of these and they don't want to have to work hard to put things together. If you are looking for a good template, I'm going to show you where you can find those in Microsoft Word. When you open up the program, if you just go, it'll probably start you with the home screen, but if you go to New, you've got your blank document, and then you've got this little search bar there. You can just search for templates by putting cover letter, and it'll spit you out a whole bunch. And you've got a lot of different options here. What I would say about this, besides it needs to match what you have for your resume, which you can just put resume, and it'll do the same thing for that. And as you can see, same choices here, just the differences of resume versus cover letter. But what I would say about choosing one of these templates, if you are interested in doing that, maybe look at the organization you're applying to first. If they have a very traditional look on their website, maybe not a lot of colors or graphics, you might choose a template that reflects that instead of, I'm going to scroll down. Some of these, very brightly colored, a little busier, but maybe you are applying for a place whose website is very, very modern and just like maybe a lot louder, we'll say. So they might appreciate seeing a cover letter or resume template that's more in line with that. Those are things to consider if you're going to choose one of these templates. Also, quickly, if you are going to use a picture, just keep in mind that you're presenting yourself in a professional way. So if you're, let's say, for instance, you're applying to be a nurse, you might choose a picture that shows what you would be wearing in a professional setting. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. If you are using an email to send your, cover letter, don't stress about format. You're just going to put your cover letter in the body of your email. I would suggest doing that versus sending your cover letter as an attachment, because then your email message is just going to be a cover letter to the cover letter. So if you're going to email your cover letter, just put it in the body of the email and then maybe attach your resume. Okay, so here are a couple more don'ts. We already kind of talked about cliches, and you can Google, cover letter cliches. There's, a few. To whom it may concern is probably the biggest one. The thing about cliches, the person who is reading your cover letter has probably read a lot of cover letters, and if they see a lot of phrases that they're tired of seeing or that they just see all the time, it's just going to misrepresent yourself as like a plain vanilla candidate. And that's not who you are. You want to differentiate yourself. That's why you're sending a cover letter. So by spending some time on the front end to really think about the words you're using, you're just going to help yourself. So just something to keep in mind. And again, kind of goes along with, you don't want them to think this is a cover letter. You want them to think that you took time to write this. You took time to research who they are in the organization. I mean, you don't have to talk about them, but just researching their name. And, if you talk about the organization in a way where you're comparing your experience and why you'd be a good fit and the direction your career is moving with the direction that maybe the organization is moving. This is just an example. That shows that you did research. You can't do that with just like a very bland kind of form letter that you send to all like 20, 30, or however many jobs you're applying for. And also, the hiring manager, they will see that. They'll be able to tell if you're doing that, and it just doesn't make a good impression. That's all. Last thing is rambling. So no hard and fast rules really about length. If you want to write more than one page, that's fine. If your content really demands that you need to say all these things to communicate why you are an amazing fit, do it. Just keep in mind that this person is probably going to skim. So you want to help them to be able to do that. So if they are opening up, and let's say you send it as an email, and they open up their email and they see that they're going to have to scroll a lot to read the whole thing, they're probably not. The chances of them doing that's very small. So that's just something you want to keep in mind, and just think through before you send it, because you want to show them that you appreciate their time. That's essentially what you're doing with them. Okay, so just a couple more things that I wanted to cover. A cover letter, a lot of people don't really, some people don't think they need to do a cover letter, but one thing that people forget that a cover letter can really do that applying online is unfortunately bad about, it can help you kind of close gaps if you don't have all the different things that are listed in a job listing. And if you are applying online through a portal, more than likely there's a software that's going to be looking for different words or looking to see how you answered specific questions. And if you don't have exactly what, it's designed to weed people out. That's what it's for. So it can't see gray area. It can't see, okay, well, maybe this person doesn't have X credential, but they've got all of this experience that can compensate for that. A human being can see that gray area. So by sending your cover letter, you can communicate to the hiring manager that, hey, I really am a great fit, and here's why. But yes, I may not have this one skill or credential. Keep that in mind if you see a job you really want to apply for, but maybe you don't line up 100%. Last thing I want to talk about, and this is something I struggle with myself, proofreading. You got to do it. It is only going to help you present yourself in a professional way. And if you need someone to do it for you, just ask. A lot of times I know if I just am the only one that proofreads my stuff, I'm really bad about leaving a word out. I thought it, but I didn't type it. And if you send a cover letter that's missing a comma or maybe one word's misspelled, most people are just, they're going to give you, you know, benefit of the doubt on that, and it's not going to be a huge deal. If you send a cover letter that's, you know, littered with grammatical errors and misspelled words, that's different. That's probably not going to get read. So it's just, it is worthwhile to just spend a little bit of time proofreading. That's it. So the library offers access to online job resources. If you've got these slides, you've got these links, and they'll take you right to the online portal where you will use your library card and your PIN number, which is the last 4 digits of your phone number. The examples that I sent you as well came from the lynda.com class. I think it's just about 20 minutes as well. It's good. We also have books and different resources you can check out. They're just going to be in the nonfiction section under this call number up here, the 650.142. You've got my email. I'm going to go ahead and unmute folks if you want to ask questions. I'm going to unshare my screen. There we go. Okay. Any questions? Okay, I see we have some questions in the chat. Okay, yes, Valerie, I will send you the slides and the example cover letters that we talked about. Any other questions?
So would you recommend addressing a lack of credentials or experience in the cover letter, or should you just kind of sidestep it and explain good things about yourself to make up for it?
Well, so that's completely, I mean, it's a tough one, but in your cover letter, you are explaining why you are a good fit. So you are already going to be highlighting, you know, your best traits anyway. People are pretty much divided on this too. Some folks are going to say, don't point that out. But I mean, if it's something that, like, you know, if they ask for a specific credential and you don't have it, I mean, they're going to know that. I mean, they're going to look at your information. So even if you decide that you're not going to put that in your cover letter, be prepared to be asked that. If you do get the interview, it's going to come up. So one reason why you would mention it or talk about it at all is because you're getting in front of that and you're directing the conversation towards why you're going to be a good fit anyway, because you may not have whatever.
Okay.
Valerie is asking how to access lynda.com. So you'll want to go through the library website. However, the link that I showed in the slide that's got these are links here. If you click on these, which I'm going to send you the slides, it'll take you immediately to the portal that will prompt you for your library card. It's going to be on the back of the card, the library card number. You don't have to put spaces. And then it's going to probably will ask you for your PIN number, and that's going to be the last 4 digits of your phone number. So, sorry, just a second. There we go. Anyone else? Ooh, I kind of went through that way quicker than I did in practice.
Did you see you have one more question from Valerie here in the chat, Joel?
Yes. Sorry. Thank you, Leah. So Valerie is asking, do you offer any one-on-one help for people who are struggling to find work during these times? So if you have any specific questions, you're free to email us. I'm going to, obviously you'll have my email when I send you all the slides. Are we offering our library, schedule an appointment with a librarian
Yeah, so on our website, we have a program called Book a Librarian. It has a little short form that you'll fill out about what you're needing help with, and we'll schedule a time for you to meet with an FPL librarian. Right now, it would be through this format via Zoom, but we're still more than happy to meet with somebody one-on-one virtually.
And I'll send you the link for that in the email. But since if you'll bear with me, I'll show you where that is on the website. Or I'll put a link for that. Actually, may be more helpful for me to put it in the chat. Okay. So the link I just put in there is what Leah was just talking about. We could set up a one-on-one Zoom meeting and just kind of go over different things through that. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Leah, I didn't realize I was sending that to just you.
That is okay. And then it looks like you do have an additional question from the user that has the iPad screen name.
Okay,
What
so
about?
this question is, what about using words that sound smarter in meaning, like intriguing versus interesting? So I don't know that if you're just kind of hung up on one word, I'm not sure that makes a huge difference. I mean, obviously you're trying to promote yourself as a professional candidate, so keep that in mind with your diction, the words you're choosing. But as long as you're not using overly cliched phrases like we talked about earlier, I think either would be fine. And a lot of this is just going to depend on the kind of work that you're applying for, of course. You might be applying for a position where it is okay for you to use jargon, business, position specific dialogue, or not dialogue, words. If you're applying for, like, a heavily tech position, it might be okay for you to use words that only people within that industry would know. That is okay. It really, I mean, it's going to be a part of you tailoring your cover letter to the position and the company that you're applying for. Does that help? I'm not sure if I answered exactly that.
I wonder if maybe it's like you're trying to be really unique, so you don't want to overuse words that other people use, but at the same time, you might be afraid that the computer won't catch certain words like that.
Sure. So definitely keep that in mind if you're answering questions on like an online form that maybe the company has. If you're emailing, if you're sending your cover letters an email, probably not as much of a concern. That's more than likely going to be read by a human being. And also, if you, for whatever reason, are handing a paper form, which I have done, not recently, but if you are submitting a paper form, I mean, obviously you're not going to have to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and post a link for like cliched cover letter phrases, just so you all will have that.
Handy. Cool.
And thank you all for being so patient with me. This format of teaching is kind of a newer thing for us. Okay, so another question is, I've seen cover letters in school that start with a question. Is that okay? So that would be, a formatting thing, and you can choose whatever format you want. And there's really, I mean, it's okay if you want to do that. There's not really right and wrong on whether or not you can use a question. I guess I'm going to answer that question with a question. Or no, not. If starting with a question is a good way for you to capture their attention and the rest of your cover letter really flows well from that question, do it. If it just kind of sounds clunky or just like, I don't know, if it doesn't work with the context of the rest of your cover letter, then I don't know, I'd be hesitant to say. Just think about writing any kind of correspondence or letter to a person. One thing that I kind of think of when I think of cover letters, in the business world, there's a thing called cold calls, and it's when you're calling a person unsolicited that you don't know. The written form would be a cold email, and a cold email is essentially what it's like sending a cover letter, because unless you know the hiring manager, this is a person you don't know that you're sending an unsolicited letter to. So you could look up cold emails and kind of see what works and doesn't work in that format as well. But just think about how you would normally talk to someone. Do you typically start your letters, if you were writing a letter to someone, with a question? Maybe you do, and if that works for you, then yes. I don't know. That's saying a lot of words, but I hope I'm answering your question on that. Anything else? Well, thank you all. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us. And if you want to do the book, The Librarian, be happy to do a one-on-one kind of version of this for anyone who's interested. So anyway, just we will be doing other Get Hired events as well. This is a weekly program, so there'll be others every week. Leah, do you know what next week is? Oh, that's me. I'm teaching the class on email.
Yes.
Not email, Excel.
Excel. Yep.
Ooh, yeah. So next week we're going to be doing kind of a basic introduction to Excel, just kind of to get you started. If you are trying to apply for a job that maybe has an Excel like test that you're going to have to take, that's going to be kind of geared towards that. All right. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very
thank you
much.
very much for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. You have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Valerie, I'll send you that here in just a minute.